Hello, entrepreneurs. I am the business doctor, Keitumetse Lekaba, managing director of I'm an Entrepreneur. And today, Kitweri, the DNA of disruption. We're going to have a delicious innovation talk. Musa Kalenga, the disruption guy himself.
How are you, Kitu?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm lovely. Great to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Only a pleasure. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
In association and partnership with FNB. You are Musa Kalenga. What do I call you these days? You're doing so many things.
No, that one is just fine. My mother calls me that, so you are in safe territory. The Musa Kalenga works. Yeah. I'm the group CEO of Brave Group and founder of Forge very recently. Yeah.
And Forge has been making news, right?
Yeah,
it's been making very positive news in the innovation space.
Yeah.
So tell us what's happening in that space. Like what's happening in industry, what's happening around innovation, what's topical.
Yeah, everything is happening. It's all changing so fast. It's difficult to actually keep up. But in most sectors, most industries, they're undergoing some kind of crazy transformation. Industries like marketing and advertising were disrupted quite a long time ago, simply because of what we do and how we do it.
Yeah.
If you look at law firms, service-based businesses, they're going through a lot of disruption. But even mechanical businesses like manufacturing concerns. So everybody's experiencing it to some degree. I think what's different is it seems like certain sectors are more open to exploring.
Than others.
Yeah. Others are just like fighting it. And my big thing with innovation is if you fight it, unfortunately, you're going to get caught flat-footed.
Sure.
So the ones that are getting it right are the ones who see the changes but are embracing it. So, or whether it's automation, whether it's actual intelligence, because a lot of people mistake those two things. They think if you automate something, it's intelligence. Doesn't work that way. But you have to journey through that to be able to get to the value. So many people are on the first base, just automating stuff, and they're going, "Oh, it's magic." But the ones that are getting the value are the ones that are really tapping into intelligence because of what technology can do these days.
Sure. And what does this mean for the entrepreneur that has just started off, maybe in business 5 years? You don't have the resources for this big automation in your business. What does it mean for them?
So the thought leaders at the moment are all saying that the next billion-dollar businesses will be started by between 3 to 4 people. So an entrepreneur who started very recently and has gone through the initial phase of testing out their product, they've gone through the pains of signing up customers, should all be looking at ways that they can scale without necessarily adding more bodies to their business.
To their businesses.
The challenge is that our knee-jerk reaction is that when growth equals human beings, it gives us that innate comfort. What technology is challenging is that growth doesn't necessarily have to mean more bodies. It's a good thing on the one hand, and it's also a huge challenge on the other. So as an early entrepreneur who's kind of getting things right, be mindful of being able to separate those two things. And scale doesn't necessarily always equal more bodies. And then everything else that comes with managing people. Sometimes the dynamics of being able to inspire, to motivate, to make sure quality levels are at the right level, the stuff we fight about all the time as entrepreneurs, become quite difficult. We operate in an economy, unfortunately, where sometimes the skills aren't at the level that they should be, which once again is unfortunate. But technology is really is a friend in that instance. And the trick will then become those that can manage the implementation of those technologies without losing the human element. And that becomes the fine balancing act.
Sure. Yeah. And this word disruption. So tell me what does this look like in an entrepreneur's business? And you touched on something earlier on about innovation. What innovation and scaling versus transforming into automation.
Yes.
So what is disruption and this buzzword disruption? What does it mean in an SMEs business?
So let's look at a first base understanding of what disruption could mean. What I would refer to as automation. Once upon a time, you had to pick up the phone and speak to multiple clients to be able to do cold calls, right? And I'm using a very simple example. Now with technology, you can speak to 10 times more people without necessarily picking up the phone, and you can do it at the speed of light. That is a function of automation. So there's technology that exists for you to do that. The next level is, yes, you're speaking to 10 times the amount of people, But what you're saying to them now is so nuanced because you know you're speaking to Kitu.
Yeah.
And you've got intelligence and understanding to know how to sell Kitu and what you're trying to do.
Sure.
So those are very different things. You can automate unintelligently and you can automate with intelligence. And so the winners are the ones that are automating with intelligence. Now, for you to get it right, there's quite a lot of exploration that you need to do. So most entrepreneurs who are tech adverse, they hold off the exploration until they absolutely have to do it, not because they want to, but it's just like, I just have to do it now.
Now I have to do it.
You know what I mean? Everybody's now on WhatsApp. Now I have to do the WhatsApp thing, to manage my customer service. Whereas if you were the early explorer and you were the early guy who went, let me try this out. What does it mean? You'd have by now realized that the 10x value was obvious, right? And that's really where the magic unlocks.
Sure.
Because I always say, that early exploration around automation gives you a little bit of an inkling around what's possible. And as soon as you see what's possible, that's really where the innovation
you get the value
comes
from.
Absolutely. And so the winners are the ones that are appreciating that early. And the losers are the ones who are still fighting it.
And tell me, if for someone that wants to appreciate it early enough, but you don't know where to go, you don't know where to find these tools, what is the best and possibly most cost-effective way of research, of finding these tools to help you first automate and then automate intelligently, now that I've learned? How do you do it on a small business budget?
Yeah. So I think before we even go to tools, I think a really simple question which is useful to ask as a small business owner comes from, I once read the story of Walt Disney and how Disneyland was born. And the theory at the time was people used to get entertained using VHS tapes.
Yeah.
So to put a VHS tape in, you used to sit your kids around the table and everyone get excited by the gray moving characters on screen. And someone asked the question, well, what if these characters came to life inside your lounge, or came to life somewhere you could go? And so someone said, okay, well, that's interesting. And they started exploring these characters coming to life. So it's not now on the screen, it's physically there. And a couple of years later, the story of Disney was born. So what I always tell small entrepreneurs, small businesses and entrepreneurs, is ask the what if question. Right? The what if question is list all of the things either in your business or your industry that are standard practice.
Yeah.
Right? So if you make pizzas, as an example, let's say you make kotas, and a standard practice is a kota, it must be a square.
Yeah.
Right? Ask yourself, what if a kota was a triangle or a circle? What if a kota was shaped like a flower? It's a what if question, right?
Yeah.
The what if question then takes your brain out of I'm building a kota to be a square.
Takes you out the box.
You get what I'm saying? And now when you're out the box, then your brain goes, okay, what if I've got flower-shaped kotas? That already takes you into a differentiation space.
Yeah.
So even without going down the technology route, you're now asking yourself the question about how do I do it differently?
I like that.
Then the technology enters. Now you're going to go, where do I find a baker that can make flower-shaped kotas?
Kotas.
And maybe I need to build the machine that makes
The
bread that's
flower-shaped
different
kotas.
shape. Right? That's where the technology comes in. Then you explore the technology. Then you automate the process. Then you get intelligent. The intelligence is now, okay, it can be a flower, it can be a square, it can be a triangle,
heart.
it can be whatever it is, it could be your face. Right? So now you're taking a very simple principle that was a kota. Now you're saying personalized kotas with your face on them. You know, a lot of people create cappuccinos and they put a heart.
Faces and hearts.
You get what I'm saying? So now you've gone from asking a simple question, is that here are the rules of my industry. I make the kota on the side of the road, but what if it was different?
To changing your business completely.
You understand what I'm saying? So ask what if. When you ask what if, list all the things that are normal or standard practice in your industry. Next to each one, say what if. What if, what if. Use that to be able to think about what excites you, and then go try and automate and think about that, and then build intelligence on that basis.
And how do you deal with the discomfort that comes with the change? Because I think for a lot of people, especially like with automation, doing something new, something out of the ordinary, there's a lot of discomfort that comes with that.
Absolutely.
How do you then, as an entrepreneur, take yourself out of that box and become uncomfortable?
I always think that your discomfort means it could be consumer excitement, right? Because the discomfort you're feeling is based on the fact that you understand the premise of your sector and your industry. So when you're uncomfortable with what you think could be a great idea, you must also understand that many other people that you're competing with may be uncomfortable. But the discomfort that you experience as service providers may just be the excitement that your customers
are looking for.
Right? So it's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Now that discomfort could either be reassuring in that, oh man, this is actually is that thing, that butterfly that goes, hey, this could work, it couldn't work.
Yeah.
And and the best entrepreneurs are the ones who lean into the thing that it could work and let me try.
Let me see.
And then the other entrepreneurs get completely disabled by the discomfort, right? Then you're just like, no, it's too difficult. Oh, flower-shaped quarters, where do I start?
No one's
doing it. No one's going to like it. And then you lose the opportunity. So you have to think about it as that discomfort could equal excitement for your consumer, number one. And number two, being able to pursue something that is fundamentally different is the cornerstone of differentiation, right? When you think about products and services and what we do, it's all about being differentiated.
Yeah.
And so that discomfort should be reframed in your own mind as the opportunity and not the reason for you to not do it.
I mean, in your business, you have just launched Forge.
Yes.
Which is seen as a disruptor
Yes.
in the market. Tell us more about that product.
Yeah, so I'll start from the idea of discomfort.
Yeah.
Right. So what we sought to do was everything that we do as a creative business to be done in basically zero time, right? We're a time and materials business.
Yeah.
So the discomfort that people feel is when they see it, they're going, well, how do we make money? That's a good discomfort. For us in the industry, it's like, does that mean our business is going to die? But the excitement on the client side is like, we can do this far quicker. So the discomfort needs to be framed correctly. And when we started going down the journey of trying to understand how this could work, what it could do, etc., most people's natural reaction is no, we're not going to do this. It's just not going to happen. And what I started to help people understand is that either you're going to be the idiot who tried it first and got it right, or because of how technology is accelerating, you're going to be the idiot who didn't do anything and got flattened by a wave that you were not able to ride. So you have to choose one, right?
Yeah.
You can't serve both masters. And so out of the blocks, the decision was, we're going to be the idiots that went first and tried something, and we're going to be the early learners, and we're going to be the early adopters, and we're going to figure it out, we're going to get it wrong, we're going to do all that kind of stuff. But we're also going to get into interesting conversations with our clients because it creates that air of something interesting is happening.
Interesting and new,
right?
yeah.
It's differentiated enough for us to talk about. So it's a very clear decision. In a corporate business, it becomes harder because it feels like you're going against your DNA. And innovation always feels like it's flu to any organization that has figured out how they operate and they got standard practice, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, fortunately, as most entrepreneurs do, you've got the latitude to be able to go against what feels like it is, it's going to be the wrong thing to exactly. So for us, we looked at the opportunity from that perspective. But I also am very mindful of the macro indicators, in not only economics, but the world. And I don't see another way for businesses, certainly in our sector, to survive. If you're listening attentively to what clients are saying, and if you're paying attention to what's happening from a global point of view, there are very few people that have shown me an alternative that I can actually go, that's a better way to do it. And I've been looking hard, and I'm still looking hard, and I'm still hoping to find them, but I'm not convinced that there's another way for us to survive this wave of AI and technology. And so jumping in headfirst makes most sense.
Sure. And what advice would you give to entrepreneurs that, they first want to see what other people are doing? And you touched on this where you're like, let me see what's happening in the market first. But the reality is that for a lot of people that are still seeing what's happening in the market, by the time they see, it's late. Because the products are out there in the market. So for other entrepreneurs in their own industries where, you're on the fence and on the box about, do I go for it? Do I not go for it? What advice would you give them?
So there's a very simple framework. It's called the contrarian matrix. You know me, I like frameworks. And this contrarian matrix it's a very simple principle. It says in every decision a business is going to make, you're either going to be right or wrong, or you're going to be in the consensus, or you're going to be contrarian. Right? Those are the two. So if we decide to do this is that. Those are the contexts. Now the worst place you want to be is to be wrong and to be contrarian. It's like everybody hates Chris, right? You did the wrong thing, and you were the only person who did the wrong thing. Idiot. That's the kind of interpretation. And based on those quadrants, the best place to be is to be the contrarian who did the right thing, because you capture all of the value, right? If you were the contrarian who was in consensus, if you were the person who did the right thing but you're in consensus, it means all of us did the same thing. So now you're dividing the benefit by 4.
By 4 people or whatever
who did the right thing. So if you want to do the right thing, you have to be contrarian and you have to have made the right decision. Now, making the right decision is bravery. It's believing in the distinction that you have, and it's zigging when everybody is zagging. But commercially, that's your best chance of being able to create a 10x business, a product or a service that someone's willing to invest in. And you have to keep that in mind, because the other alternatives, you're going to get either minimal or no value.
Sure. And in cracking the code, finish the sentence for me. This one innovation mistake could be holding you back.
Yeah. Mindset.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mindset. So this is people that are not adapting to
Correct.
automation, AI.
Correct. You get stuck. Mindsets calcify. We've just recently run an interesting project, and it was basically, we were challenged by the mindset, right? So in our sector, you've got people who've been around for many, many years, have won awards, and are very decorated creatives. And I realized that when you're trying to pour new knowledge into a cup that's full of cement, that knowledge doesn't actually go in, it just kind of flows over. But we then said, let's try a new product. It's actually called the Empty Cup Crew. Let's get empty cups, let's fill them with new knowledge and see what happens. And so when you brought young people in and you fill them with new knowledge, and in short periods of time, they're creating phenomenal value.
Sure.
It's just a mindset thing, right? So the same people who've got cement in their cup, you could bang on about, do this differently, it can help you, it can be quicker. And they're just going, nah. It's a mindset thing. And then you bring a young person, completely empty cup, you put them the right knowledge,
and they just can grab it.
Right, so it's mindset.
Okay. Not many people know this about disruption.
It's not as glamorous as they think.
And is disruption always technology?
No, not at all. It could be as simple as just the way you work. So I used to, and you'll forgive me for this, but I used to think that collaboration for me, because I'm a millennial, collaboration for me was reminding myself via email that I needed to send a note. And I used to send myself, like, the subject matter things. I know you're going to laugh because you did the same thing. I know my people. So I used to think that for me was like a way to keep myself productive. And if I had a thought on the weekend, I used to type myself a quick email, or I'd make a little list of things. So I used to use that as my productivity tool. And so I started using that with our young engineers. I used to get a brainwave on the weekend. I used to send them a quick email. Hey guys, let's brainstorm this thing. And they never used to respond, ever. And I was challenged by this because I was like, guys, I'm trying to collaborate. I'm trying to, And they sat me down and they said, if we're to be honest with you, when you send us an email and you want to collaborate, it's the very same thing as you receiving mail in the post to want to collaborate. And I sat back and I'm like, you must be joking. So the psychology around that for me was like, of course I'm collaborating. Of course I'm there. Of course. Meanwhile, it was just not landing.
The email.
It was just not landing. It's an email. So that paradigm in itself is a fundamental inhibitor to innovate. Fundamental inhibitor. So one person could think that they're innovating and the other's going, you're not doing nothing. So it's very important that you get alignment from that point of view.
Sure. And then when we, as in your business and your team, rebuilt our strategy around this principle, things worked out. What is that principle?
Respect.
As simple as that.
Yeah. It's as simple as that. I think, there's just so much to this idea around respect, especially in our industry. Our industry is governed a lot by hierarchy and power dynamics.
Yeah.
So you have people that have been executive creative directors that won Lurie's and worked on Coke. There's this pomp and ceremony around these characters, and you almost get a cult following around them. And over time, that cult following translated into a level of toxicity and disrespect. So it made it very difficult for you to take on new information from someone who you have seen to be beneath you, and that became a problem. Because ideas don't come from any one place. They come from a multiplicity of places. And so these individuals that were ultimately now shifting from being these demigods had to start to become curators. So you have to listen. You have to take this stuff on. For you to do that, you have to respect even the person that's just showed up yesterday. One, because they've got a very different lived experience. Two, because their vantage point for the problem you're solving is different. So if you don't have the ability to respect that, it makes it really, really difficult for you to collaborate.
To take everyone's point in and just collaborate with them.
Correct,
Sure.
Yeah.
And the last one, this is how I stay creative in a saturated market.
I spend time with my kids. Yeah.
Is that what gives you creativity?
Yeah, I spend time like I
New
listen.
perspectives,
Yeah,
new.
I try and listen to my kids. My kids like they've got such throwaway nuggets that I go, is that really how you think about stuff? And I'm going, okay. You know, my daughter these days is all about. She tells me to read the room, like that's her
Oh
thing.
wow.
Like, and I'm just like, where did this read the room thing come from? So I speak to her and I try and engage in terms of understanding this read the room thing. And obviously, what's happened at school now is that all of them are starting to understand boundaries and conversations. And so this idea around read the room is actually them leaning into this concept of EQ. Now, in the corporate context, we don't say it out loud. We don't tell people to read the room.
We expect
but
them.
we expect them to know.
Yeah.
And so what I realized is that just by her saying it, I'm aware now that even people that I work with should read the room. And by just articulating it, you might be liberating someone. I know that's what you must do, but I won't say you must do it because I assume you must do it.
Because assuming that you know, but people don't know what they don't know.
So now she's like, I'll turn on, because they hate my music, right? I'll turn on my playlist and she'll look at me, she's like, Dad, read the room. And I'm like, what do you mean read the room? She's like, your music. I'm like, oh, okay. That's what you try. That's what you try to say. You try to sell me like low-key subliminal things. So I spend a lot of time trying to listen to my kids firstly. And I do read a lot. I try and consume as much contrarian information as possible. That means stuff that hopefully I don't believe, because that's where discomfort comes from. So if you're always reading stuff that you believe and you know to be true, you just kind of
it's just cementing already what is on your mind.
Exactly. So the other day I was challenged. I want to pick up the Quran and start reading it and figure out stuff, just because it's contrary to what I know.
Yeah.
Because that already creates this like jolting effect of what is being said here, why is it being said, and I think that's the best way to keep your brain going.
I like that, reading stuff that is contrary to what you know or believe.
Correct.
Because it does challenge you. It does challenge you.
Absolutely.
In some way or form. So just before we close, Musa Unfiltered, what drives your obsession on innovation?
What drives my obsession on innovation? Because when it works, it really works, and that's probably 10% of the time. And I've started enough companies and built enough things to know that it fails more times than it works. But when it works, there's nothing like that. When you see people use something, adopt something, enjoy something that you've labored to build, for me, there's nothing better than that.
I like that.
Yeah.
And what do your friends and family members come to you for advice for? When they say, Musa, I need to pick your brain.
Oh, hey, my Facebook account has been hacked. Yo, Lord. My Facebook account, I worked at Facebook how many decades ago?
Oh,
I
wow.
still get people say to me, I've been trying to get hold of Facebook. My Facebook, I'm like, really? Like really? Read the room.
You're not reading the news. I'm not there.
It's so funny how people still call me to help them with their Facebook accounts. It's so weird.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And what are your creative rituals? So what do you do? And I know you said spending time with your kids, but when you're feeling stuck, your brain is feeling blocked, what creative rituals do you do?
I meditate and I sweat. So those are the two things I try and do. So meditation for me is, I'm trying to actually build it into just being my life practice. And unfortunately, I've noticed that I use it to manage stress and stressful times, and it really works. But I've become aware that I should be using it even when I'm not in stressful times, because I think that's like where the value unlocks. So that's the one. The second thing is I sweat. So I really do like to exercise. I think for me, the combination of the two is probably the closest you'll get to godliness if you get them right.
Gotcha.
So I try and do those two things.
And what failure are you grateful for in your business journey?
Being bankrupt in my early 20s taught me a lot. That was a tough time, but we did some work for a company that shall not be named, and we over-delivered, because as young black business, you know how it is.
You're trying to prove yourself, excellence.
So we just over-delivered. This client kept on telling us to do stuff, and we just kept on doing stuff. Ended up with a hell of a bill after this entire campaign, and the client was like,
I don't have money.
Not even that. Just, I didn't tell you to do it. Why did you do it? Right. So what happened as a result is we took on. When I say we took on, I had to take on the debt to repay everything. Then I had to go to the banks and get a payment plan and and literally it like flattened me financially. what I learned through that process is, number one, how to engage with banks. Because I don't know where it came from. It was just innate for me that I didn't want to run away. I think entrepreneurs make the mistake sometimes of running away.
Because they're too scared. They're scared of the banks. They hear these ridiculous things about banks, regulators.
No.
So you're even scared to go to SARS and say, Kupa payment plan.
No. That's, and I said, no one told me, but I just innately knew, just show up, just be in the light. Don't be that person that's in the darkness and now they're phoning you and they're sending people. So I showed up and I went to them and I said, guys, this is the scenario. I mean, it's not like they cared, but they at least knew that I showed up. And I remember, that's why Hyde Park has got such an interesting place in my heart. That's now where our office is.
Yeah.
But the lawyers that were dealing with my case were actually in Hyde Park Corner, ironically.
Sure.
And I used to go there all the time, tail between the legs, and just when you miss the payment or when you whatever, you'd go to this place and you have these people who are looking at you and going, why are you not paying it? But eventually I got that right. And so engaging in the light was very important for me. That's a lesson I learned. The second thing is just own up. I mean, it was nothing that I could do. It's not like I went and I stole money. Exactly. It was just a situation that found me in this particular place. And being able to do that and come out on the other side unscathed, having paid everything back, that was the most important lesson I learned.
Sure.
And I went to every single person that I owed money and I paid them back.
Oh, wow.
Even though it took time, I said to them, I'll pay
you paid them
every
back.
single person.
And you just showed up.
Yeah.
And people, when you show up, people can see that, no, you know what? You can trust this guy. There's trust. There's loyalty.
Absolutely. We hired as entrepreneurs. I've seen so many young entrepreneurs make that mistake of going to ground, as the politicians say, when things go wrong. That's the worst thing you can do. Just show up, be earnest, commit to what you can do. And if you can't commit to, just be honest.
And then lastly, who or what inspires you? Like, what keeps inspiring you to push boundaries? Or what or who?
Lately, I've got an interesting new person who inspires me, Ibrahim Traore. He's a politician who is driving such a strong narrative around a shift in Senegal. His passion and his clarity of mind, his unashamed pursuit of liberating his country and his people. That is, for me, that is super inspiring. It's just like, you could be doing anything. You're smart, you're young, you're all these things. In your position of presidential political power, you could be doing anything. But you're saying, I'm here to make sure that, number one, my country is never the same again, and my continent is never. That for me is super inspirational.
Sure.
Yeah.
And just in closing, what advice do you have for some of the entrepreneurs, particularly some tools that they can start working on or start using in their businesses just to help them get into that innovation, disruptive mode? What are some of the things that they can do, some of the tools that they can use just to help them in their businesses to tap into the next level?
Yeah, so I mean, without naming a lot of tools, I think the LLMs that currently exist.
LLM is for the people?
Sorry, large language models. So whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Claude, whether it's DeepSeek, I think those are very basic and accessible tools. And if you are at a point where you're trying to understand how to unlock value, I think that's a very good place to start. What I will say is the how is really important. So there's two things that are important to note is that as human beings, when we're using a new type of technology, our reference will be the previous technology we used. So when we were creating ads for TV, and all of a sudden YouTube emerged, we took TV ads and put them onto YouTube.
True.
You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
So when we have AI and the LLMs now, we are using the LLMs the way we used to use Google search, which is not the right way to use them. But it's the way human beings will start using a new technology. The research that's coming out from young people using LLMs is fascinating. They're using it literally as a life co-pilot. So a young person will make a life-changing decision after having a full-on conversation with DeepSeek or with ChatGPT. So they're not saying, ChatGPT, I'm searching for an answer to question X.
Yeah.
The first prompt will be, lately I've been feeling a little bit depressed. What could be the issues I'm facing? They'll get a prompt and response. They'll go, oh, That could be the particular issue. But, the one thing I'm really feeling is that I'm just demotivated, but I want to study something. The LLM will give a response. Based on that response, they'll ask the next question. And then they'll get to an output. But they've journeyed with it like a co-pilot, which is very different to how people use it
use Google.
as a Gmail user. So when you use a tool like an LLM, understand that there's supposed to be intelligence inside it. It's just not an automated response. The intelligence is supposed to give you a better outcome. So the tools I'd say use is LLMs, but try and use them for more than just put a prompt, get an output. Try and reason with it. Try and get a more granular view.
Don't they learn you as well? Don't they
Over
learn
time.
over time?
Over time,
So they start
absolutely.
giving you more accurate answers.
Absolutely. So use the tool for the intelligent aspect and not just the fact that it can give you a quick response. And you'll see it as, I've been completely perplexed about the things that I've been able to do using that approach. You can start by, as an example, analyzing your basic budget. You can put a one-page budget. You can say, this is my budget. Please let me know where I can save money. And then it can give you a response.
And then it gives you responses.
They say, if I'm to save money on these 3 things, can you give me a 4-week plan to make sure
I can actually
do these things? It'll give you the 4-week plan. Oh, the 4-week plan. Okay, I can say. So once I've saved the money, where should I invest it? So you're actually conversating with it, right? As opposed to just seeking for a one-way answer.
Is this where they say the future jobs are in prompting engineers?
Absolutely. You got to know what you're asking. You got to know what data you're giving it, and you got to know what you're asking. And those 2 things don't come innately because we're used to using Google. Right. Sure. So that's the advice I'd give in terms of tool and approach.
Thank you, Musa Kalenga, the innovation expert. What did we call you? The DNA of disruption. The DNA of disruption. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you.